Yeah, I didn't understand a word, but I assume he was telling you who I am, yeah? Okay, well, thank you for the invitation. I thought it would make a change to explain to you how the Scandinavians look at the pellet market, because whilst Scandinavia is probably the oldest pellet market in Europe, we started producing pellets the first factory was built in 1984. And it was a very long time before anybody else in Europe cottoned on and also started making pellets. So we have a slightly different take on the pellet market. Before I do that, I'll just very briefly introduce the company I work for. I work for Ekman & Co. in Gothenburg, Sweden, and we're a sales and marketing organization focusing on the forest industry. Our main business is the pulp business. I believe we are still the world's largest independent pulp sales company. We're involved in everything else that's to do with paper and pulp as well. That's paper and packaging, recovered materials, and lastly, bioenergy, which we started trading in 2008. Yeah? The company is an old, very well-established company, incorporated in 1802, whilst the Ekman family, who still own the company, can actually trace their first trades back to 1663. So it's been going for quite a while. Yeah. Let's skip the turnover. Yeah, this is what we do. Right, this is the interesting bit. Yeah, the share of heat and power. Christian just gave a very interesting presentation, and he highlighted the amount of heat and power and how he believes the volumes are divided. But I would like to oppose the EPC and everybody else that compiles these charts and says it's approximately a 50-50 division. It very much is not so, and I say that with utmost confidence, because the figures for Scandinavia, what are being used as power, are CHPs. They're combined heat and power plants. And they do not operate when there is no requirement for the heat. So therefore, to my mind, the heat is the primary use of the wood pellet. The power that you get while generating this heat, that's an additional bonus. So instead of having the chart that looks like this, which is one prepared by EPC, it really should look like this, in that all the heat, all the pellet use in Denmark is primarily for power. For heat, and the power is just a bonus, and the same applies in Sweden as well. So, yeah, if you compare it like that, which is what we're constantly being told, and you look at it like this, it really does alter the focus slightly. Yeah. Now, I'll explain to you how we as a company operate in Denmark. This aerial view that you can see there, that is our Wildberg site. That is the site of the oldest pellet plant in Europe. That's the plant that was built in 1984. It is currently operated by Ekman & Co. And it is really a large series of interconnected warehouses where we have a lot of storage space and a very small production facility. We also have storage space in a lot of other port areas around the country. That's because we believe it makes sense to have the pellets delivered near to where they are being used, rather than just having one central location. Yeah? Now, the Danish market is actually, again, quite an interesting market, because it's probably the second largest market in Europe. And the two large power companies that you see there, Dong Energy and Vattenfall, between them are using about 1.3 million tons of wood pellets. That's industrial quality pellets, but it is primarily to generate heat, and then the power is a little bit of additional. Then there are lots of small CHPs and district heating in small towns and villages all around Denmark, and these are the areas that we actually specialize in supplying. We have lots of warehouse very, very near where these companies need their wood pellets, and we supply them in a just-in-time basis. Basically, we take away the need for these companies to hire warehouses and to tie up capital in storing pellets. And if you have a look at the division of the market, this is, again, is something that is not shown very often, but you can see that in a 2.4 million ton market, it more or less divides very neatly between two large companies, Dong and Vattenfall, and then all sorts of other sectors. Yeah, it's quite interesting to see that, you know, farmers are using about 100,000 tons to keep their animals warm in winter. Yeah. The private sector, which is the residential sector, is about 600,000 tons. But the interesting thing is that these smaller installations all use a residential quality wood pellet. They typically all demand less than 0.7% ash. Everything that comes into Denmark comes in by vessels, because Denmark really doesn't have an awful lot of raw material that it can use to produce wood pellets. We take vessel sizes anything from as small as 2,500 right up to 31,000. The typical Baltic coast is around about 4,000 to 6,000 tons. That's the size of vessel we use most frequently. As you can see on those pictures, they're showing sampling, which is something that we're actually very, very strict about, making sure that the quality of the pellets that the client requires is actually what they get. And this is something that a lot of people sometimes screw up on when they're entering the market. They think it's a very easy buy-sell market. A pellet is a pellet. You buy from one person, you tell to somebody else, deal done. It is never that simple. It really is very, very important that you make sure the client always gets the right quality at the right price. Otherwise, you'll be out of business very, very quickly. The residential market in Denmark is a reasonably well-established market. Last year we imported about 165,000 tons. This year we expect to do a minimum of 250,000 tons into the residential market. Yeah. We have different pellet brands. That pallet that you can see there, you can't actually read the writing on it, but that's the HP brand, which is named after Hans Poulsen, who built the first pellet plant in Europe, and it's a very well-established brand in Denmark. Yeah. We also look at forward integration, if you like. We believe that everybody involved in this industry should actively promote the other aspects of the industry. Not only do we sell the pellets, we are the exclusive distributors in Denmark for palisetti stoves and boilers, and we believe that it really is a requirement. It's incumbent of everybody involved in the industry to promote the industry in total, and the industry will only keep growing if we help it to grow as well. It's a little bit ironic, but we inadvertently became pellet producers in Denmark. We had that big site that you saw the aerial view of, and Andritz, who are actually their pellet press division is actually a Danish company. It's based in Denmark. They wanted to test a new pellet press. They decided that the market is moving forward leaps and bounds, and that there is a requirement for larger pellet presses. So they decided in their wisdom they're going to make a 12-ton per hour pellet press, and they wanted somewhere to try it. And they asked us, could they trial it at our facility in Wilberg, which we agreed to. And we said, yeah, of course you can. You know, there is a furniture factory next door. We can get a small amount of shavings from there, and you can sort of debug your pellet press, which they did, and they did it for a year. At the end of the year, they said, look, you know, we're quite happy with this, but it doesn't make much sense to move it away. Would you guys like to buy it? And we said, no, we're not producers. We don't want to get involved in that game, but they made us an offer that we couldn't refuse. So now we have the largest pellet press in Europe, in a country that has no raw material, and we're making pellets out of fines from the pellets that are delivered in by vessel, mixed together with shavings from the furniture factory next door. This is an older slide. It actually says annual production 20,000 tons. It looks like we're going to do more than 40,000 tons this year. So, yeah, there'll be a slight upturn in pellet production in Denmark this year. Yeah. We have 4 bagging facilities around the country because Denmark is actually a series, it's a peninsula and a series of islands. So in order to reduce the cost of moving stuff from A to B, which all adds to the price of the pellets, we have facilities all around the country, and in fact we now have actually, we've taken on a 5th bagging facility as well. What's happening in Sweden? Sweden is again a very mature pellet market. It grew a little bit in 2013 by 330,000 tonnes. But when you look at the fall that we had the previous year, when it fell by 560,000 tonnes, it means we're still actually smaller than we were 2 years ago. Yeah? But production has increased a little bit. Imports also increased paradoxically. And as in any mature market, you find that people go out of business and new people come into business. So we had 5 new pellet plants commencing production and 5 pellet plants that went out of business. And that's a natural sort of status quo, if you like. Yeah. Christian showed a slide there with a large or a medium scale heating boiler. That is the market that we are supplying mainly in Sweden. It's a market that fits very well with our philosophy of holding the storage and supplying just in time. We have key storages in certain places in Sweden where the customer can come any time, day or night, 24 hours, and they can pick up exactly what they need and drive away to their facility. Again, they don't need the cost of the warehouse, and they don't need the capital cost of actually holding large volumes of wood pellets, and it works very well. These clients typically are using between sort of 12 to 75,000 tonnes, and it fits very well with our imports, both from America and from Russia and the Baltics. Yeah. The interesting specific is that while some of these are actually quite big at 75,000 tonnes, you would say that's probably an industrial specification, but the quality of the wood pellets are again very specific. They need low ash, very good quality with high durability. So it is in essence a residential pellet that these mid-scale size users are using and that we are supplying to them. And there you go. That was a very quick over. Oh no, there's another slide here that just shows what some of these mid-scale applications look like, and then the conclusions. Yeah. So the international wood pellet market will continue to grow, and I say it's the residential quality wood pellet that's leading the way, not the industrial. The quality requirements are very, very important, and I believe they will get even more important as bigger volumes are imported. And the only way to sustain the growth in Europe is going to be through imports. That much is very, very clear. I hear people in certain countries saying, oh, no, we don't want to have pellet imports. We want our own manufacturers to get the benefit. But if you do that, the market will just stagnate and die. If you want to keep it growing, you've got to grow with the market. Thank you.
Perfect. Right on time. Thanks a lot for that. ¿Alguna pregunta? Questions about the Scandinavian market? No? Okay. No. Thanks a lot, Arnold. Let's go with the next speaker. And we're also very proud to have Seth Ginter here.